Do you ever feel like you're waiting for the perfect idea to strike before you start something? Here's a reality check. It's never going to happen. Perfection is an illusion that holds more people back than anything else. Here's a shocking stat. 92% of people never finish their big creative goals because they're waiting for the right moment or the perfect idea, according to a study from the University of Scranton. That means most of us are stuck, waiting for perfection that simply doesn't exist. The truth is, the world's most successful creators didn't wait for perfection. Did you know that Picasso created over 50,000 pieces of art in his lifetime? Not every one of them was a masterpiece. He didn't aim for perfect every time, he aimed for progress. In this video, we'll show you why the pursuit of perfection is a dead end and why embracing imperfection is the real key to unlocking your creative potential. You'll learn how to start messy, build fast, and work with others to make your ideas better. Ready to stop waiting for the perfect idea and start creating? Let's dive in. Chapter 1. The Myth of Perfection. Why perfect ideas don't exist. Most of us believe that creative geniuses are blessed with perfect ideas that strike like lightning. But this is a myth. Perfection is a trap, and it keeps many people from starting or finishing projects. In fact, the idea of a perfect idea can be the reason you're stuck. It's time to let go of that. Consider this. Thomas Edison failed over 1,000 times before he finally invented the light bulb. He didn't wait for the perfect plan. He just kept tweaking his ideas until one worked. The same goes for any creative endeavor. If you wait for an idea that's flawless, you'll never make progress. Research backs this up. A study published in the Harvard Business Review found that 80% of innovation comes from gradual improvements, not perfect flashes of genius. It's not about getting it right the first time, but about consistently refining ideas over time. The real magic happens when you're willing to fail and learn. Creativity isn't about aiming for perfection, it's about embracing imperfection. Take Pixar, for example. Most of their hit movies began with rough, unpolished drafts. Their creative team believes in plusing, which means constantly improving something that's good enough, not waiting for it to be flawless. Perfectionism can even harm your brain. Studies show that high levels of perfectionism are linked to depression and anxiety. A 2019 study in the Journal of Personality found that perfectionism increases the risk of burnout. So, chasing the perfect idea isn't just unrealistic, it's unhealthy. Here's the takeaway. Creativity thrives when you let go of perfection. Start where you are, and trust the process. You'll improve your ideas as you go, not by waiting for them to be perfect from the start. Chapter 2. Embrace the chaos. Creativity thrives in mess. The creative process can be messy. In fact, it often needs to be messy. Creativity flourishes in the chaos of ideas, mistakes, and half-finished thoughts. If you're waiting for everything to line up perfectly, you're missing out on where true innovation lives. One fascinating study by psychologist Robert J. Sternberg found that creative people tend to embrace ambiguity. In other words, they're okay with not having everything figured out. They know that messy ideas often lead to unexpected breakthroughs. Let's take the Post-it note as an example. This world-changing product was created by accident. A 3M scientist was trying to develop a super strong adhesive, but he ended up with one that barely stuck. Instead of scrapping the idea, his colleague found a way to use it, and the Post-it was born. If they had been aiming for a perfect, strong glue, that invention would have never happened. The famous architect Frank Gehry once said, "Creativity is about making mistakes. Art is knowing which ones to keep." This quote captures the essence of what we're talking about. When you're not afraid of messing up, you open doors to ideas you never imagined. Research supports this as well. A study in the Journal of Creative Behavior revealed that people who allow themselves to make mistakes are significantly more creative than those who try to avoid them. Mistakes lead to learning and new insights, while perfection stifles progress. So, the next time your project looks messy or feels incomplete, remember, you're exactly where you need to be. Creativity thrives in chaos. Embrace it. Chapter 3. Why good enough beats perfect every time. It's easy to think that only perfect ideas can lead to success, but this isn't true. In fact, aiming for good enough can be more effective than waiting for perfection. Here's why. Take the 80-20 rule. This principle, known as the Pareto principle, states that 80% of results come from 20% of effort. This means you can often achieve the majority of what you want with a good enough idea or product, and then improve it over time. Let's look at the tech world for proof. Instagram was originally designed as a check-in app called Bourbon. It wasn't until the founders simplified the idea, focusing just on photos and filters, that it took off. They didn't wait for it to be perfect. They released something good enough and refined it based on user feedback. A similar concept exists in startups. According to Eric Ries, author of The Lean Startup, the most successful companies don't wait for a perfect product. Instead, they launch what's known as a minimum viable product, MVP. This is a basic version of the product with just enough features to attract early adopters. After that, they iterate based on feedback. The lesson here? Start with what you have, even if it's not perfect. You can always improve it later. In fact, some of the most iconic products and ideas didn't start out as perfect. They became great because they were continually improved. Another key to success is learning from feedback. A 2018 study published in the Journal of Management found that people who launch imperfect ideas and seek feedback are 30% more likely to succeed in creative projects than those who wait for perfection. Perfection isn't practical. If you wait for a flawless idea, you'll lose valuable time and miss opportunities. In the end, good enough will get you where you need to be, and faster. If you're finding value in this video, don't forget to subscribe for more insights on creativity and innovation. Chapter 4. The Power of Prototypes. Stop dreaming. Start doing. Many people think that creativity is all about brainstorming or waiting for inspiration. But, honestly, the real work starts when you build something. Prototyping is one of the best ways to get your ideas out of your head and into the world. It doesn't have to be perfect, just something tangible. Did you know that IDEO, one of the most famous design firms in the world, believes in thinking with your hands? They encourage quick prototypes because it's easier to spot what works and what doesn't when you can actually see and touch the idea. Tom Kelly, the author of The Art of Innovation, says, "Fail faster to succeed sooner." The faster you create, the faster you can improve. The best part? Prototypes don't have to be complicated. Some of the most successful companies started with extremely basic versions of their product. Twitter, for example, began as a side project. The founders created a simple platform where users could share brief updates. They didn't wait for it to be perfect. They launched quickly, tested it, and made changes along the way. This is also true in industries like film. Pixar famously creates storyboards or visual prototypes for their movies. These storyboards are rough, but they help the team understand the flow and pacing before they commit to full production. They expect their early versions to be messy, but that's how they find the magic. The design thinking process, used by companies like Apple and Airbnb, focuses on prototyping as a key step. Research published by MIT showed that teams who use prototyping and iteration are 40% more likely to develop successful products. The takeaway? Don't wait until everything's perfect. Start building now, even if it's rough. You'll get better faster. Chapter 5. Perfection Paralysis. The creativity killer. We've all been there. You have an idea, but it's just not perfect enough, so you keep tweaking and delaying. This is called perfection paralysis, and it's one of the biggest creativity killers. When you aim for perfection, you often end up doing nothing at all. According to Dr. Brené Brown, author of The Gifts of Imperfection, perfectionism is the belief that if we live perfectly, look perfectly, and act perfectly, we can avoid the pain of blame, judgment, and shame. This mindset can stop you from sharing your ideas or even starting them. A study by York University found that perfectionism is directly linked to procrastination. People with perfectionist tendencies often avoid starting projects because they fear the outcome won't be flawless. Instead of getting closer to their goal, They get stuck in a loop of overthinking and tweaking small details that don't matter. But here's the truth. Nothing will ever be 100% perfect. And that's okay. The author Anne Lamott, in her book Bird by Bird, writes, "Perfectionism is the voice of the oppressor. It's the thing that keeps you from moving forward." Want proof? Steve Jobs was notorious for chasing perfection, but even he had to release imperfect products. The first iPhone, while revolutionary, had plenty of flaws. But Apple didn't wait until it was flawless. They launched it, collected feedback, and improved future versions. Research also supports this. According to the Journal of Counseling Psychology, letting go of perfectionism can lead to higher productivity and more creative output. When you're not obsessed with perfection, you're free to take risks and explore new ideas. So, don't let perfection hold you back. Accept that flaws are part of the process and move forward. The sooner you start, the sooner you'll succeed. If you found this video helpful, please subscribe for more tips and tricks to fuel your creativity and innovation.